The rain hammered down like a damn war drum, each thunderclap rattling the skeletal pines of New Jersey's Pinewood Trail. Ellen Harper, 42, stumbled through the muck, her soaked blouse clinging to her trembling frame, blood streaking from a gash on her left arm. Her breath came in ragged gasps, her wild auburn hair plastered to her face as she clawed through the underbrush. "They're coming," she shrieked into the storm, her voice cracking with terror. "They know." Her sneakers slipped on the slick mud, and with a gut-wrenching scream, she tumbled headfirst into a shallow pit, landing hard on her side. The impact knocked the wind out of her, but her shaking hands clutched something tied, a muddy USB drive, its edges glinting faintly under the lightning flash. She dragged herself up, coughing, her eyes darting wildly. "This is the proof. Gotta get it to someone," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the howling wind. Her fingers fumbled to shove the drive deeper into her pocket as she scanned the darkness. Then, through the sheets of rain, a shadow loomed tall, menacing, cloaked in a black trench coat. The figure stood motionless behind a gnarled pine, its face hidden, but those eyes, cold, piercing, like a predator sizing up its prey. Ellen froze, her heart pounding so loud she swore it echoed. "No, please," she whimpered, scrambling backward, but the mud sucked at her legs like quicksand. The shadow shifted, stepping forward with deliberate, bone-chilling slowness. A flash of lightning illuminated the glint of something metallic in its hand, a knife, its blade wickedly curved. Ellen's scream died in her throat as she yanked the USB free, holding it up like a desperate shield. "You won't get it," she yelled, her voice raw with defiance. But the figure didn't flinch. It raised the knife, the rain sliding off its coat in rivulets, and lunged. The camera cut to a close-up of Ellen's terrified face, her mouth open in a silent cry, before the screen went black save for the USB rolling free, half buried in the mud. Miles away, the storm raged on, oblivious to the chaos it had swallowed. Back in Hudson County, the clock ticked past midnight, but the quiet didn't last. By 6 a.m., the first rays of a gray dawn crept over the horizon, and a hikersome college kid named Tyler with a beat-up backpack stumbled onto the scene. "Holy shit," he yelped, dropping his coffee thermos as he spotted Ellen's limp form sprawled in the pit. Her chest barely rose, her skin pale as death. Tyler fumbled for his phone, hand shaking, and dialed 911. "Yeah, I found a woman. She's hurt bad, Pinewood Trail, like 2 miles in. Hurry." Within 20 minutes, sirens wailed through the trees as paramedics and cops swarmed the area. Ellen was loaded onto a stretcher, her pulse faint but holding. One paramedic, a burly guy with a buzz cut, muttered, "She's lucky to be alive, looks like she fought off a damn bear." But as they lifted her, the USB slipped from her pocket, landing with a soft plop in the mud. A young cop, Officer Jenks, 25, scooped it up, frowning. "What the hell's this? Some kind of flash drive?" He turned it over, wiping off the grime, and noticed faint scratches like someone had clawed at it. At Hudson County Hospital, Ellen's eyes fluttered open in the ER, the beeping of monitors filling the sterile air. A nurse hovered nearby, but Ellen grabbed her wrist with surprising strength. "Get Detective Russo," she rasped, her voice a hoarse whisper. "Only him can trust." The nurse nodded, wide-eyed, and rushed out. Minutes later, the USB sat on a tray, its contents a mystery, while Ellen's grip loosened, her head lolling to the side. The monitor flatlined with a shrill, unrelenting beep. Outside, the rain had stopped, leaving an eerie silence. Officer Jenks handed the USB to Sheriff Dan Carter, a grizzled man with a permanent scowl. "Found this on her," Jenks said, shifting uneasily. Carter's eyes narrowed as he pocketed it. "Keep this quiet, kid. We don't need a circus." But as he turned away, his phone buzzed with a text. "She talked. Clean it up." His jaw tightened, and he glanced back at the hospital, unaware that the shadow from the woods was watching, lurking just beyond the parking lot's flickering streetlight. The screen faded to black, the sound of dripping water lingering, leaving the question hanging. Who was Ellen running from, and what secrets did that USB hold? The clock on Jake Russo's desk blinked 7 a.m., casting a sickly green glow across the cluttered FBI office in Hudson County. The air smelled like burnt coffee and stale cigarettes, the kind of stench that clung to the faded brick walls. Jake, 38, slouched in his creaky chair, his thick mustache twitching as he sipped from a chipped mug. His navy FBI jacket hung loose over a wrinkled white shirt, the badge on his chest glinting faintly under the dim fluorescent lights. An ancient CRT monitor hummed beside a beige rotary phone, its cord tangled like a damn spider web. "Another night shot to hell over these freaky cases," he muttered, rubbing his bloodshot eyes. The phone jolted him upright, with a shrill ring, cutting through the morning silence. He snatched it, barking, "Russo here." Sheriff Dan Carter's gravelly voice crackled through. "Jake, we got a mess out on Pinewood Trail. Some woman was found half dead last night, rambling about a USB. She's awake now, demanding you by name. Says you're the only one she trusts." Jake's eyebrow shot up, the coffee mug pausing midair. "Me? What the hell did I do to earn that honor? All right, I'm on my way." 20 minutes later, he strode into Hudson County Hospital, the squeak of his boots echoing down the sterile hallway. Ellen Harper lay in a bed, her face pale and gaunt, an IV drip taped to her arm. Her eyes flickered with panic as Jake approached, his badge catching the light. "Detective Russo," she croaked, her voice barely above a whisper. "They killed Tom, my husband. I saw them bury him. The USB, it's got video proof." Jake leaned in, his tone sharp. "Who's they, Mrs. Harper? Give me names." Her breath hitched, her hands trembling as she gripped the sheets. "Cops. No, worse than that. Organization. I can't say the name, they'll kill me." Before Jake could press further, her eyes widened in terror. "They're here," she screamed, her voice piercing the room. The heart monitor erupted into a frantic beep beep beep, then flatlined with a chilling whine. Nurses rushed in, shoving Jake aside as they tried to revive her, but it was too late. Ellen was gone, her last gasp hanging in the air like a ghost. Jake stepped back, his jaw tight, staring at the lifeless figure. "Damn it," he growled under his breath. A nurse handed him a small evidence bag with the muddy USB, her hand shaking. "She was clutching this," she said softly. Back at the office, Jake plugged it into his ancient computer, the screen flickering as a file loaded. The video was grainy, distorted, but it showed a man bound, gagged, his face bruised, screaming in a dimly lit room. A voice, deep and menacing, growled, "Spill it, Harper." "Who took the files?" Then a gunshot cracked, and the screen went black. Jake's stomach dropped. That voice, it sounded like Tom Harper, the journalist who'd vanished 6 months ago. He rewound the clip, squinting at the background, concrete wall, a metal chair, something glinting in the corner. "Son of a bitch," he muttered, jotting notes. Just then, his phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Don't dig deeper, Russo." His blood ran cold. He glanced around the empty office, the shadows stretching long across the brick wall. Was someone watching? He grabbed his jacket, the weight of the badge suddenly feeling heavier. Back at the hospital, Sheriff Carter loomed in the parking lot, his face unreadable as he pocketed his phone. "Keep this under wraps, Russo," he said, his voice low. "We don't need a media circus." Jake nodded, but his gut screamed otherwise. As Carter walked off, a figure lingered across the street, half hidden by a dumpster, the same black trench coat from the woods, its eyes glinting under the streetlight. The screen cut to black, the sound of dripping rain lingering, leaving Jake in the audience wondering, who sent that text, and what the hell was on that USB? The FBI office felt like a damn tomb by 9 a.m., the hum of Jake Russo's CRT monitor the only sound breaking the thick silence. His desk was a mess, coffee stains, crumpled notes, and that cursed USB drive sitting like a ticking bomb. His mustache twitched as he glared at the screen, replaying the grainy video for the 10th time. Tom Harper's bruised face flashed before the gunshot, that deep voice echoing, "Spill it, Harper." Jake slammed a fist on the desk, the rotary phone rattling. Who the hell did this? He growled. He needed help, and fast. He dialed Sarah Kim, a tech whiz with a neon green streak in her hair, who owed him a favor from a cybercrime bust last year. Sarah, get your ass over here, he barked into the phone. I've got a locked USB that's got me spooked. By 10:30 a.m., she burst in, her laptop bag slung over her shoulder, eyes gleaming with curiosity. All right, Russo, let's see what you've dragged me into, she said, cracking her knuckles with a grin. They huddled over the computer, the air thick with tension. Sarah plugged in the USB, her fingers flying across the keyboard. This is AES 256 encryption military-grade stuff, she muttered, her brow furrowing. But wait, there's a server trace. Looks like it's tied to a government network. Jake, you sure you want to crack this? He leaned closer, his voice a low rumble. Hell yeah, I'm sure. Open it before someone wipes it clean. Sarah nodded, her expression hardening as she typed furiously. The screen flickered, and the video stuttered to life. Tom Harper, bound and bleeding, the room's concrete walls closing in. Then, a shadow moved, and the shot rang out, silencing his screams. Jake scribbled notes, his pen scratching the paper. That's Tom Harper, Ellen's husband, missing since February. This ain't random. Sarah zoomed in on the background, pointing at a glint. See that? Looks like a metal chair. And is that a logo on the wall? She enhanced the image, revealing a faint FBI emblem, half obscured by shadow. Jake's stomach churned. Inside job? No way, he whispered, but the evidence stared back, mocking him. Night fell hard, the clock ticking past 11 p.m. Jake drove home, the headlights cutting through the foggy New Jersey backroads. His nerves were shot, the USB burning a hole in his pocket. As he pulled into his driveway, a shadow darted near the garage. What the? He yelped, slamming the brakes. He leapt out, gun drawn, and chased the figure into the darkness. Branches snapped under his boots, his breath fogging in the cold. But the trail ended at a burnt scrap of paper, the words, Pinewood Cabin, 3 a.m., scrawled in jagged ink. His heart pounded as he pocketed it, glancing around the empty street. At 2:50 a.m., Jake crept through the pine forest, the cabin's silhouette looming like a haunted relic. The air reeked of damp earth and decay. He kicked open the door, flashlight slicing through the gloom. Inside, a fresh dug hole gaped in the floorboards, but no body, just a blood-streaked FBI badge. Its serial number, worn but unfamiliar. Who the hell does this belong to? He muttered, turning it over. A twig snapped behind him, and he spun, gun raised. The forest was silent, but his gut screamed danger. Back at the office, Sarah called, her voice shaky. Jake, I cross-checked that badge. It's not in our system, erased, like it never existed. Before he could respond, a text pinged his phone. You're next, Russo. The screen cut to black, the sound of rustling leaves lingering, leaving Jake and the audience teetering on the edge. Was this badge a clue or a trap? And who was hunting him in the shadows? The clock on Jake Russo's dashboard glowed 1 a.m. as he peeled out of Pinewood Cabin, the blood-streaked FBI badge burning a hole in his jacket pocket. His tires screeched against the wet asphalt, heart hammering like a war drum. The forest loomed behind him, its shadows twisting with every flash of lightning. Damn it, I'm in too deep, he growled, gripping the steering wheel until his knuckles whitened. That badge wasn't just a clue, it was a damn target on his back. Back at the FBI office by 2:30 a.m., the air was thick with tension as he slammed the badge onto Sarah Kim's desk. Her green-streaked hair caught the dim light as she leaned over it, her laptop humming. This thing's a ghost, she said, her voice tight. No record, no serial match, someone scrubbed it clean. Jake paced, his boots thudding against the worn carpet. Tom Harper's dead because of this crap. Ellen too. We're dealing with pros. Sarah's eyes narrowed. Pros with government ties. This ain't just dirty cops, Jake. They needed answers, and fast. Jake remembered a name, Mike Iron Delgado, a retired cop turned hermit, rumored to know the underbelly of Jersey Shore. By 3 p.m., they tracked him to a rundown trailer park 20 miles south. The place reeked of rust and despair, a sagging porch creaking under Mike's weight as he glared at them through a screen door. His face was a roadmap of scars, his voice a gravelly snarl. "Get lost, Russo. I ain't talking." Jake stepped closer, his tone steel. "You knew Tom Harper. He wrote about your old crew cops running drugs. You owe him this." Mike's eyes flickered, his hands trembling. "They cut my buddy's tongue out for less," he rasped. "There's a cabin where they handle traitors, but I ain't going back." Before Jake could press, Mike slammed the door, leaving them in the dust. That night, 11 p.m., Jake's phone buzzed with Sarah's panicked voice. "Jake, my server's hacked. The USB video's gone." He cursed, racing home, only to find his garage door ajar. A knife was jammed into the driver's seat, its blade glinting wickedly, a note pinned beneath. "Last warning, Russo." His blood ran cold. Headlights flashed in his rear view as he sped off, a black SUV tailing him. "Son of a bitch," he yelled, swerving through the empty streets. The chase ended when he ditched the car in an alley, ducking behind a dumpster as the SUV roared past. Back at his place, the silence was deafening. Then, a thud. Mike stumbled through the back door, blood soaking his shirt, a knife hilt protruding from his back. "They know you found me," he gasped, collapsing. "Run." His eyes glazed over, life draining away. Jake knelt, hands shaking, as Sarah burst in, her face pale. "Jake, what the hell happened?" she whispered. He showed her the note, his voice a low growl. "They're closing in. This ain't just about Tom anymore. It's about us." Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Jake grabbed his gun, peering out the window. "Cops or hunters?" he muttered. The screen cut to black, the sound of approaching tires lingering, leaving the question hanging. Were they saved or doomed? The sirens outside Jake Russo's house screamed like a banshee at 11:30 p.m., their red and blue lights slicing through the blinds. His heart thundered as he crouched by the window, gun gripped tight, sweat beading on his brow. Mike's lifeless body lay sprawled on the kitchen floor, blood pooling beneath him, the knife still jutting from his back like a cruel trophy. "Stay low, Sarah," Jake hissed, his voice a tense growl. Sarah Kim huddled behind the counter, her laptop clutched like a lifeline, her green-streaked hair plastered to her face with sweat. "Who the hell are they?" she whispered, eyes wide with fear. The front door burst open, and 3 masked figures stormed in, their boots thumping like war drums. Flashlights stabbed through the darkness, glinting off the barrels of their rifles. Jake ducked, adrenaline surging, and fired a warning shot that splintered the wall. "FBI, drop your weapons," he roared, but the figures advanced, their silence more terrifying than any threat. One raised a hand, and a familiar voice cut through the chaos gravelly, commanding, "Stand down, Russo. You've poked your nose too far." The lead figure ripped off his mask, revealing Sheriff Dan Carter, his scowl etched deeper than ever. Jake's stomach dropped, his gun trembling in his hand. "You?" he spat, disbelief warring with rage. Carter chuckled, a cold, hollow sound. "Thought I was saving you, huh? This was a trap from the start, you dumbass." Sarah gasped, clutching the laptop tighter. "The USB, you erased it." Carter's eyes glinted. "Smart girl. But that's just the tip of the iceberg." They dragged Jake and Sarah to Pinewood Cabin, the air thick with the stench of rot and damp earth. The place was a nightmare, cracked walls, rusted chains dangling from the ceiling, and a concrete floor stained with dark, ominous splotches. Jake's flashlight swept over a hidden panel, and with a creak, it swung open. Inside, a journal lay buried under dust, its pages yellowed and brittle. He flipped through, his breath catching. "The Silent Order," he read aloud, the words chilling his spine. It detailed a secret cabal, FBI insiders, crooked cops, even a former director murdering to cover a drug trafficking ring spanning Jersey Shore. Sarah's voice trembled as she pointed at a page. "Jake, look, your name's on the hit list." His head spun, the room tilting. "No way, someone's framing me," he snarled, but the evidence stared back, unyielding. Before he could process, heavy footsteps echoed outside. The masked goon shoved them into a corner, rifles trained. Carter loomed, his smirk sinister. You thought you'd unravel us? This ends here. A gunshot cracked, the sound ricocheting off the walls, and Jake flinched, but it was one of the goons who fell, a bullet through his skull. Chaos erupted as the others turned, firing blindly. In the confusion, Jake tackled Carter, wrestling him to the ground. Who's the boss? He roared, pinning the sheriff's arms. Carter laughed, blood trickling from his lip. You'll never reach him, he's untouchable. Another shot rang out, and Sarah screamed as a bullet grazed her arm. The screen cut to black, the sound of gunfire and shattering glass lingering, leaving the audience gasping. Was this the end for Jake and Sarah, or a desperate escape? The acrid smell of gunpowder hung heavy in the air as Jake Russo blinked awake, his shoulder throbbing with a dull, searing pain. The dim fluorescent lights of Hudson County Hospital buzzed overhead, casting jagged shadows across the sterile white walls. His vision swam, but he forced himself to focus. Bandages wrapped his left arm, and an IV drip snaked into his vein. Son of a bitch, he rasped, wincing as he shifted. Sarah Kim sat slumped in a chair beside him, her green-streaked hair matted with sweat, a bandage on her arm where the bullet had grazed. Her eyes met his, wide and haunted. You're alive, she whispered, her voice shaky. Barely. The clock read 7 a.m., sunlight filtering through the blinds, but the warmth felt hollow. Jake's memory flooded back. Pinewood Cabin, the shootout, Sheriff Carter's betrayal. What happened? He growled, struggling to sit up. Sarah leaned closer, her hands trembling. The cavalry showed up, some off-duty cops who weren't in on it. Carter's in custody, but it's a mess. The silent order's still out there. She handed him a tablet, the news blaring. Sheriff Dan Carter arrested in drug ring scandal, more suspects sought. But the article ended with a chilling note. Key evidence, including a hit list, remains missing. Jake's jaw tightened. The journal, where is it? Sarah shook her head, her voice dropping. Gone. They found Tom Harper's body in a shallow grave near the cabin. Dental records confirmed it. But that list with your name? Vanished. A cold sweat prickled his neck. Framed or targeted, he was in deeper than ever. Just then, a nurse slipped in, a wiry woman with sharp eyes, handing him a manila envelope before darting out. From an anonymous donor, she muttered, avoiding his gaze. Jake tore it open, pulling out a grainy photo. Carter meeting a shadowy figure in a parking lot, face blurred, the timestamp reading 3 a.m. last night. Scrawled on the back. He's not the leader. Damn it, Jake hissed, the photo trembling in his hands. Sarah peered over, her breath catching. Who's that? Another player? Before he could answer, a voice slithered from the hallway, low, menacing, echoing off the tiles. Careful, Russo. This ride's just getting started. Jake whipped his head around, but the corridor was empty, save for a flicker of movement near the exit. A faint, chilling laugh lingered, fading into silence. His pulse raced, the hospital's sterile calm now a prison of uncertainty. He glanced at Sarah, his voice a gravelly whisper. We're not done. Someone's pulling strings, and they want me dead or framed. She nodded, her resolve hardening. Then we keep digging. For Tom. For Ellen. The door creaked open, and a detective stepped in, new face, no name yet, holding a file. Russo, we need your statement. And that envelope handed over. Jake hesitated, the photo burning in his grip. Was this guy clean, or another pawn? He tucked it under his pillow, forcing a smirk. Give me a minute, huh? As the detective stepped out, Jake's mind raced. The silent order wasn't just a gang, it was a shadow government, and he was their next target. The photo hinted at a bigger fish, someone Carter answered to. His shoulder ached, but his resolve steeled. He'd find them, or die trying. The screen faded to black, the sound of that eerie laugh echoing, leaving the audience on edge. Who was the true mastermind, and would Jake survive the hunt?